Hello, hello. Today we're going to do a tutorial on how to do your makeup with no foundation. So, first we'll talk about the products that I have laid out on my counter here that you obviously can't see. I'm going to start with just a concealer. So what this is, it's the Tarte Ultra Creamy Shape Tape Concealer in shade 27H, if you can see that. And then I have a setting powder. This is the KVD translucent setting powder, and it has a nice cool tone to it. A lot of translucent powders still aren't necessarily translucent on the face. A lot of them have very warm tones, and me having cool tones in my skin, the warm just looks way too yellow. So I liked when I found this one because it just seems to just transition really well from makeup to skin. I have a Bare Minerals Gen Nude Call My Blush for the cheek, and then I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Definer in Ash Brown. I have my two Essence Lash mascaras. I always do a dual mascara. You certainly don't have to. And then I pulled out two separate eyeshadow palettes that are smaller because a lot of times if you're not going to be doing your full face of makeup every day, you probably don't need one of the big palettes like I've used in my other tutorials. So this one is the Milani Most Loved Mattes, and it's just like some warm redder tones and some purples and some browns. This one's a really nice palette for that. The next palette that I have is the Golden Twilight BH Cosmetics palette, and this one has a little bit of brighter colors and there's some shimmers in there as well. You don't obviously have to have both. You can just try this eyeshadow look with any colors that you have around. I usually use 4 when I'm working with my eyeshadow when I really want a nice just gentle tone. Now if I'm doing my lazy girl routine, that's where I do the cream eyeshadow stick, which also is an option. Obviously you don't need all of this stuff. I will say when we're talking with makeup, shimmer you want to stay away from if you have aged or aging skin where there's wrinkles, there's fine lines, those types of things, because shimmer actually accentuates your wrinkles and your fine lines. Now, if you're using just a tad in the inner corner of your eye to blend over with your eyeshadow, you'll probably be okay, but you don't want to do too shimmery or glittery highlighters or bronzer bases or crazy glitter looks through here, which I'm sure most people who are aged don't want that anyway. But that's just the tip, because the matte tones actually seem to blend a little bit better with your fine lines and wrinkles where it doesn't accentuate them as well. So there's one of your tips for this tutorial. Okay, so I've already prepped my face. So I've washed it this morning with the Dermy Anti-Wrinkle Cleanser. And then I went in with my serums that I use every morning. I really like The Ordinary. Their products are affordable, but they're also pretty high quality. So this one is the retinol, and then this one is the, I'm not going to say it right, but the argireline. Argireline? I don't know. Look it up. I wasn't smart enough to Google it before I started filming this video. So I use these two serums. The retinol helps with blemishes, especially acne and acne scarring. And then this solution with the very long name that only Google knows how to say is assisting in prevention of fine lines, wrinkles, those types of things. It really helps to stick with your collagen and elastin. I have used my Ordinary just normal face lotion, and then the Milani Green Goddess Cannabis Sativa Seed Oil for my under eye. And then I also use some of my under eye frozen coffee bombs, which I've talked about before, and I will be posting a video soon about that because I have made that. I just haven't posted it yet. So there'll be links to all of that in the description below. Okay, now that we're through all the prepping and the products, we're just gonna get right into it. So I'm starting with my Tarte concealer, and I'm just gonna come right where the most of that deep purple is, because as you can see, my under eyes are awful. And that's the point of those frozen bombs that I keep talking about that I used this morning. I'm just starting to use them, so obviously I have not yet seen results, but I will keep everybody posted, and I can certainly share the recipe with you. I like to use my finger when blending in a concealer under the eye, because I feel like when I use a brush, it just like either puts the concealer too far into my pores or it just keeps it on the brush, and I don't see nearly as much result from it with just particularly my concealer. So, and then if you're using eyeshadow without your foundation or your eyeshadow primers, I like to put just a tad on the lid so that way there's a little bit of texture for the eyeshadow to really sit on. You can certainly use a primer, but your concealer works and you already have it, and I'm all about saving money, so that's why I'm doing it this way. And then I like to take this down through my acne scarring. You can see right there that my ring light is just wonderfully illuminating for us today. And I'll use a brush for that one. So I'm just using a flat face brush. And then if anybody is interested in brushes, just single brushes to get if you don't want a full makeup look, I'm gonna look some of that up too. And I'll give some recommendations for you all to buy like single brushes instead of a full set, especially if this is more the type of makeup that you're gonna be going for. So just a little bit that I want to cover right in through here. These bags and these under eyes are killing me. I sleep. I don't know why they look like this, but they do. There we go. I had to refill my coffee and get music. I don't know how people do like anything in the morning without music. So anyways, I'm moving to my KVD powder. This is just a loose setting powder, and I'm gonna take kind of a dense brush. This is the Milani dense brush I got from Ulta. It was a freebie in an order that I placed. So I'm just gonna take a little and I'm gonna kind of dab it on the, or pat it on the side there to get a lot of that off. And I just wanna set that, especially if you rub your face a lot through the day. You wanna make sure you're setting that under eye concealer, or else it's just gonna come right off. And then I'm gonna take that through my cheekbones where all my acne scarring is. Thanks beauty school for the stress / hormones, because you know, if you're a female, you get it. Okay, I'm gonna go in with my blush. This is just a nice big blush brush, and I'm gonna focus it right on the apple of my cheek and then blend backwards, because if you've ever watched my other tutorials, you know that I am not a fan of super heavy blush all the way back to the temple. It's outdated, and especially if you're not doing a really heavy makeup look, you just want like a little bit of color on the cheek. You don't want it to be like super glam, overdone blush where everything else is just like very natural looking. So the big blush looks is good for the glam, but it's not good for like the neutral or natural looks, which is what I tend to specialize in. So I don't know if I will ever do a glam tutorial, and I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm gonna start in with my brows. You wanna brush them through first. I'm not wearing my glasses or contacts, so I'm gonna try to do this, but it might be a little tough in the camera. Don't look too closely, your girl needs a wax. And I am never this sloppy. You can tell your girl needs glasses when she does makeup. When you do your brows, it's very common to see your concealer and foundation kind of come off like that. So I just go back in with my flat face brush because there's still going to be a tad of product on that brush. And I just want to like kind of go around the perimeter of the brow. And I always brush through the brows again before I finish them. And I like this brush because it's a pretty natural look. It just fills in like the shape you already have without going too heavy. So it's good for a look like this. Okay, so now when we're working with eyeshadow, I like to have 4 brushes. Let me find the ones that I want. Okay, so I like this, like a nice fluffy brush just for blending. I'm not going to actually put any product from the palette to my face with this brush. I'm just going to take it and blend the colors together. This one, I like a brush like this for the dense one. It's the same one I used on my powder underneath, but for blending out the edge. I don't like a very harsh line when it comes to the eyeshadow up through here. So I like to blend it out with a natural color. And then this one I like for application on the darker in the outer corner. And then I like a thin, flatter one for the middle. And then I usually use my finger in the inner corner. And then if I like to do an eyeliner type thing, I never put true eyeliner underneath my eye, but I use a flat tipped little eyeliner brush. And I take the darkest color that I use in this outer corner and I just kind of lightly dust that and then smudge it out through there just to give a little bit of color and bring that down without being overwhelming. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a color for a base color that's going to go over my entire lid. So looking in this palette, I like to do something like this top one here or like this middle one that it has a hint of color, but it's something that I can build off of. So, and that's just going to go over my entire lid. Okay, I'm going to start with this is my Profusion brush that I got in a $10 palette and I love it. I got rid of the palette, which is good eyeshadow. I just had like 17 palettes, so I sanitized it and cleaned it up. Anyways, I like this for my outer edges. So I'm going to go in with a dark color because I want this look to be more natural and I just want it to kind of accentuate my eyes. So I'm not going to be using my crazy colors today. I'm going to be using more in the brown tones family. So I'm going to go in with just a deep brown. And I'm going to shake off any excess product by tapping that on the palette, just like this, right over my sink to catch all that. And then I'm going to go in and I kind of almost make it to a point shape here. And then I'll fill that in later. This type of shape elongates the eye when everything is there. So a lot of people who don't like to use eyeliner, because if using that winged eyeliner or a cat eye or even a kitten eye, that helps to enlarge and elongate the eye. If you feel like your eyes are small, you can kind of get a similar effect. It's not going to be as like widening and enlarging as the eyeshadow or as the eyeliner look, but anyways, so we're going to take that and we're going to fill that in. And I like to work at both eyes at the same time. Some people only do one and then they go back to the other. Not my thing. And it always kind of looks crazy while you're working on it And if you see, I'm taking that eyeshadow kind of just into that, right above that inner corner of my eye also. And we're gonna blend a lot of that color out. So like, don't worry. It's not gonna look crazy. And I'm just looking for the general shape to be even because again, I'm gonna be blending out. So now I'm going to be switching to my flatter brush and I'm going in with a lighter color. So I'm going in with, I used this dark shade brown here and I'm just gonna go the shade right above it. It's a nice light brown, same thing, kind of tap out that excess product. And then we're gonna go in from, we don't want all the way in the corner, but just slightly out. And to kind of put that just right on the edge of that lid, all the way up till it meets the darker brown. And then I'm gonna get my blending brush out. You know, some people do whole looks with their fingers. I have never been able to do that. I feel like a brush blends everything out better. But I know, like, when you really start getting into makeup, it can be costly with all your tools and everything. But if you're getting a good brush set and you're taking care of them right by cleansing them, I mean, depending on how often you do your makeup, you know, weekly, monthly, every couple of months, I think it's worth it because you might spend, you know, 30, 40 bucks on a eyeshadow set of brushes, but they're gonna last you a long time if they're taken care of well. So if you see that, all I'm doing is like really gentle circular motions going through the lid like this. So I'm starting in the inner corner and I'm just blending that out. And I'm not really worried still about this harsh edge because I haven't gotten to that point yet. So you want to check and kind of make sure everything looks pretty even. And then we're going to go back in with our powder brush that's a little bit denser, going in for a light shade that's like the same color as your skin. So I'm going to mix these two. And then I'm just going to kind of take that right along just the edge of that eyeshadow and kind of tone that down a bit. When you're used to this and you're not stopping to explain or you're not practicing, this look is a breeze. It doesn't take very long at all. And I'm just kind of going in and taking the rest of that. And these right on the edge, I want to start blending towards the eye because if I'm taking it outward, you're going to take that color pigment out towards your temples and you don't really want to do that. So we're going to take it towards the rest of the color just to kind of dim that out even more. So it's nice there. See how nicely that blends out? So what you can do when you get to this point, you can either leave it if you like this look. I'm going to go a little bit further with it. You can either take just like a matte light tone and bring it out here because that's going to help really brighten the inner corners. I like to use a shimmer on myself. But I do like to start a little bit in with that lighter tone. So I'm just going to take that light tone and just take it right in here with my finger and just really light strokes toward the inside because that's just going to really help brighten it. And it's also almost going to be a primer for my shimmer tones. So this is still all by the Milani Most Loved Mattes that I really need to clean the outside of the palette, and I'll link all these in the description below. I'm just going to go into this palette with all the shimmers, and I'm going to take one of the lighter tones and just layer it right over top of the inner corner and bringing that out. And I'm doing that with my finger. A lot of shimmer shades, they don't transfer very well with the brush. So and I'm kind of being heavier in the corner and on the bottom, but then I'm feathering it up. And we're going back to our original brush for the outer corner, back into that dark shade. And I'm just gonna darken this just a tad again. Okay, and that same color that I used in my outer corners, I'm going to use in the underneath. So this is back to my little thin brush, back in that exact same shade. Taking off that excess product. And see, I'm not putting a lot there, and then I'm taking my finger and I'm smudging it toward the color on the eyeshadow up above. And that's really just almost going to complete the look. I'm kind of rubbing off my concealer in the inner corners there. Make sure your finger's clean from eyeshadow before you start going back in if you need to touch up your concealer. Otherwise, you're going to get those nasty, ugly brown spots underneath. That might be nice on the upper lid. It's not good under the eye. We're trying to cover the dark circles, not make them worse. Mine are super severe today, so I feel like I have to use a lot of concealer to cover them babies up. And I'm just going to go back ahead in with a little bit more powder since I set that with a little bit more concealer under there. So if you have good under eyes, I hate you, but also you probably don't need to do this. Sometimes I like to go in with just a hint of blush right there to give me color, because you blush a little there too if you're nervous. Okay. You don't have to do this part, but I certainly like doing it because I want to kind of brighten up still, especially this under part, because this is already accentuated so much with your eyeshadow. So I'm going to go in with like a dense little brush here with a highlighter. This is the Champagne Pop by Becca that I've talked about in prior videos. So it's the same thing. I'm just going to dab it in there, take off the excess product, and I'm going to pull my lid down, and I'm going to dab this right in the under eye, and it just brightens it up so much. See that difference there, like how it kind of brightens it up compared to this eye already? You can also use a white eyeliner if you have that. I do that on my clients. That works too, but I never keep any at home, so I just use a highlighter. And I oftentimes take it just in that inner corner to brighten it up too, and it helps to distract from the dark circles that I can never get fully covered under my eyes, even with a heavy concealer. So I'm going to go in with my dual mascaras. These are both the Essence from Ulta. I think they're $5 a tube or so, maybe $6. They're pretty affordable. One is lengthening and one is volumizing. So I'm going to curl these with my nifty Amazon lash curler, which of course you don't have to do this part either. And I like to go in with the one with a little bit more of a fluffy brush first to really thicken and expand the lash. And if you get it on your skin, don't worry. I got a tip for that. I mean, try not to, of course, but if you do, it's not a huge deal. And here's my tip with mascara also. I always close my eye and I come down the back of the lash, because this helps to thicken them even more, because if you're not getting anything on the back of the lash, your lashes are still going to look pretty thin. I'll let that one sit for a little bit. I'll go to the other eye and then I'll come back before it's fully dry in with my other mascara. You get mascara on you like I just did. Don't touch it. Leave it. Let it dry. Otherwise, you're gonna smear every bit of everything that you have on your face, which this look wouldn't be as big of a deal because there's no foundation. There's really nothing on my nose. But I'm still gonna teach you the trick. And if you see, I'm changing my angles with how I'm holding my brush and from what direction I come from. And that helps with all the volumizing and lengthening and thickening and all those types of things. So, this brush, as you can see, it's a different shape. The bristles aren't as thick and bushy as the other one. And I just want to take that right on the very ends. This really helps with the lengthening aspect. Taking a second mascara just over the ends. And then I don't swipe on my under lashes. I just kind of wiggle back and forth. If you swipe, you're more likely to get clumpies down there since there's not as much lash to work with. Okay, now that this mascara has dried, let's just go in here with a Q-tip. And it should come off pretty seamlessly. Yeah. So there we go. There's the finished look. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will link all the products and everything underneath that I used today.